I'm sure for most of you, not a day goes by where you don't see some video of a smash and grab, a raid by a group of masked criminals storming into a store, stealing whatever they want. There was one again. It was another Nordstrom. It just keeps happening. It's getting worse. And now we have this protest happening because a woman and her accomplices were stealing from a liquor store, tried to flee. When the police tried to stop her, she tried to kill the police officer. So he shot her. She died. It's a horrifying story, but all of this contributes to what's happening now. In response to this woman's attempted murder on the life of a police officer, protesters have started marching, saying that it was unjust, as if people should be allowed to steal from whoever they want. And then if they get caught, try to kill the cop. Yeah, sorry, the cop had a right to defend himself. And the cop has a duty to stop someone from robbing a store. There's actually 3 women. We now have this headline from Oregon Live. Nike to permanently close Portland factory store, business district says. Aw, that's just too bad, Portland. But here's the story. Of course, the official narrative you'll get from the corporate press is we just don't understand why they're doing this. But they actually reported in the story. Nike went to the police and said, we need special detail for the crime that is happening here. And the police said, no, sorry, sir, we can't provide you with special security. So Nike said, we done. And they're shutting down. Here's the report. Nike will close its community store in Northeast Portland permanently, it told the neighborhood business district on Friday. The Seoul District Business Association said in a news release that the community was dealt a major economic blow after Nike finalized its plan to close and vacate the store at 2650 Northeast Martin Luther King Drive Boulevard. Nike confirmed its plans in a statement to the Oregonian and said that the company was reimagining Nike's retail space and considering future locations as part of this community's long-term revitalization plan. Yeah, they're saying everything's going to crap and we're out. The footwear and apparel store had been mostly closed to the public for most of the year, and it had been unclear whether the closure is temporary or permanent. John Washington, executive director of the Seoul Business District Association, said that he had sent a letter to Nike roughly a month ago asking about the status of their store, which at that point had been closed for more than 6 months. The store closure was starting to impact the small businesses in the area, who were telling me that they were getting less and less foot traffic and business was not going well. That prompted me to ask Nike what their intentions were. Let me just pause right there and say I'm not so sure. It's Nike shuts their store down so customers stop showing up. I don't think Nike was the draw for why people would go shopping in an area. To be fair, it does matter. In shopping districts and malls, when one store closes, it does reduce overall foot traffic. Fair point. But I think the real issue is crime is so bad, nobody wants to go there anymore. Washington said he followed up with Nike earlier this week about the store's status, and the sneaker company responded with news of its closure during a Zoom meeting. Word about the store's closing landed like a lead balloon, he said. Why close down a flagship store that has supported Black Portland for over 40 years? It was an economic driver in this area, and we should be looking at the long-term impact of that closure. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. In February, Nike made a request to Mayor Ted Wheeler and city officials to detail off-duty police officers to provide security at the community store. Wheeler's office, however, nixed the request for police attendance. Mayor Ted Wheeler said in a statement Friday that he was very disappointed with the news of the Nike community store's closure and said his team and city staff have worked tirelessly and in good faith with Nike for almost a year to offer creative solutions to their safety challenges. Oh, let's just give a round of applause to Portland. Safety challenges. Is that what you call violent crime? I love it. Ultimately, the city cannot offer Nike or any other private business with dedicated off-duty Portland police officers due to a staffing shortage. This community store had been a staple in its Portland neighborhood since it opened in 1984. Portland civil rights and education activist Ron Herndon and the Black United Front worked with Nike in the 80s to bring the brand's first ever factory store on Martin Luther King Drive Boulevard. Herndon said all the store not only hired workers from the neighborhood, but also invested all the profits from sales into their black community, into Portland's black community. Obviously, I was disappointed to hear that this wasn't going to be able to reopen the store, that they wasn't going to be able to open the store. It was a grammatic error. So that they weren't, I think you meant to say. I think this is a failure of leadership at City Hall. I just believe folks at City Hall don't have the skill or creativity to address major issues that impact not only the black community, but all of Portland. Safety. Safety challenges. Safety challenges. Oh, man. Well, that's it. That's it. The sneaker giant added that was providing employees the store with options to continue to be a part of the Nike family. Yeah, well, here you go. From the Daily Mail, the small towns in America that are disbanding their police forces amid staffing crisis and blaming drop in morale after pandemic and George Floyd protests. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the thread from Andy No. He says, new surveillance video of Takia Young in the moments before her death in the Columbus, Ohio area have been released. They show the pregnant woman with a long braided weave stealing liquor before leaving with two female accomplices. I certainly hope she wasn't drinking the liquor while pregnant, but that's neither here nor there. Hundreds of BLM protesters gathered for a demonstration in Columbus, Ohio, following the death of Takia Young. Takia, a pregnant alcohol theft suspect who was shot after driving into an officer to escape. Young was, here's a quote. In April 2021, Takia Young was arrested on suspicion of speeding and driving high on drugs. She allegedly ignored commands to exit the vehicle and said she hated white people when she was arrested. Quote, Young was secured in the back of my patrol car and began yelling that she had done nothing wrong and that she hated white people. Well, okay. There's video. Right here, actually. I'm not going to play it on YouTube. Sorry, guys. You can go to Andy No's Twitter. Follow Andy No on Twitter for more information like this, more news like this. And you can watch the video if you so choose. But I'll tell you, the video shows a woman in her car attempting to murder a police officer. End of story. That's it. I'm not playing games. If there is a man standing in front of your car saying, don't move, and you hit the gas, that's attempted murder. And the only reason this cop's alive is probably because he pulled his weapon and he shot her. I wish she did not die. It is a horrifying story. But my friends, the world is imperfect. A person, this woman and her friends were stealing booze from a liquor store, and a cop tried to stop her. She tried to kill the cop over a few bottles of liquor. Let me stress this one more time. This woman, over only a couple bottles of liquor, wanted to murder a police officer. I feel bad for this cop. I feel bad for her. She shouldn't have died. But I'm sorry. It only goes so far. You choose to kill a cop over a couple bottles of liquor. I want to stress that to no end. This woman thought these bottles of liquor were worth killing that cop. It's insane. Just absolutely insane. Dude, let the bottles go. That's so crazy. That's just so crazy, man. You hear stories about a dude. There's one story where a guy goes into a bank and he holds up the bank for $1. And then he patiently sits and waits down for the police who arrest him. And it was because he had cancer and he couldn't get the treatment. But he knew that if he went to prison, they would be forced to treat him. It's like a horrifying story like that. He didn't try killing anybody, but he created a very serious risk out of desperation. You hear stories like that, and you're like, man. You hear stories of people stealing because they're hungry. You hear stories of people stealing because, well, they want money. But how much is it? What is it worth for you to try and kill someone? That's the craziest thing here. I'm going to say it for the 5th time. I think 4th. This woman thought the couple bottles of booze that she stole was worth more than the life of a police officer. She was willing to murder a police officer for a couple bottles of booze. Just crazy, man. It's just crazy. But criminals exist. And some people are depraved, and some people are merciless, and some people are ruthless. And this woman, I see a depraved, merciless killer. But she died. And she was pregnant. And they blame the victim. The police officer is the victim. The store, the victim. You have this woman and her friends victimizing locals in the community and then trying to murder a police officer, and the protesters march for them. So when I hear that Nike is having safety challenges, as the Democrat government explains, I'm like, oh, okay, blame the victim. Nike, who I'm not a fan of fleeing because of threats to their safety are blamed. But you're hurting the economy by doing this. Why would you do it, bro? I'm not going to stand here and help you when you are allowing this crime and this violence. These people protest for this. How sick and depraved is that? That this woman was willing to murder a cop over a couple bottles of booze. And we're lucky he survived. Watch the video. He's standing in front of the car saying, out of the vehicle now, because she stole. And he should do that. It's his duty to protect the victims she robbed. And she hits the gas, and he immediately fires on her. I wish he didn't have to. I wish he could have jumped out of the way. I wish he could have rolled on the hood and been fine. But it is never the victim's fault when they defend themselves. Sorry. When you choose to commit murder, people have a right to protect themselves. These people are gross. But you get it. You understand why it's happening. And we'll see. I saw a story. Now they're saying that they're going to bring facial recognition to supermarkets. Yeah, this is why. Mass looting. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.